Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Fallen London. It's been a while, I've been sick, but we are going to finish off the Heretic of Hollow Street. In the last episode we met a talking tiger and a particularly unique surgeon. This time we are trying to find out what happened to the locksmith, but before we can do that, we need to provide haircuts to our current crop of customers. As you show each customer your handiwork, they seem genuinely pleased rather than begrudgingly accepting you are getting to grips with the job. After the day's final cut, the sweepers move forward with alarming speed and efficiency, brooms whirling. You wave the cheerful customer off, only to turn to find the barber watching you from his office. He gives you a single, solemn nod. But we gain the reputation, and now we have enough to let the locksmith in. He has arrived quite unannounced, unseen by the rodent, and before you even had a chance to deliver a pamphlet to his door. The locksmith is a voluminously bearded man with a tree-trunk chest and glimmering grey eyes. He strolls into the barber shop and fixes his gaze upon the barber, who has not had sufficient warning to hide. The two stare at each other, the barber uncertain, the locksmith unfazed. "I have spoken to the chemist and the surgeon," says the locksmith amicably. "After hearing their stories, I suspected I might find you here." He takes a seat and looks into the mirror calmly. "Shall we begin?" "I can help you overcome your guilt. What happened to me? What you did to me," says the barber. "I feel no guilt," says the locksmith, steepling his fingers. "No, I am here to find out what you're up to. In the meantime, you are welcome to try to take my memories. My memories are befuddled and tainted by nostalgia in any case, and therefore can be safely discarded." So, we can ask what role he played in the sacrifice of the barber. As the razor emerges from its case, the locksmith's face creases into a smile. "Ah," he says softly. Or we can ask what role he played in the sacrifice of the barber. The scissors flutter around the locksmith's head. Greying locks of hair drift to the floor. Shall we... I want to know more information, but I also want to make sure that I do what the barber wants. Last time, he went horribly wrong with the surgeon. He seems to be more at ease with his past, so let's try just using the scissors. After King Charles received the shortest haircut of his life, did we charge the Axeman with regicide? Asks the locksmith. Or Cromwell? Or Charles himself? Do we blame every cavalier, every Roundhead? You did not wield the knife, says the barber quietly, but I know it was you who rigged the game of straws. You ensured I was the sacrifice. It was inevitable, says the locksmith. Do you think any of the rest of us would have accepted your fate? Ooh. So we can ask what he suspects about the barber's plan. We can ask him what he learned from the mirror. It seems likely that the barber's intentions are not merely to absolve his former friends of guilt. Right. Human motives are irrelevant, says the locksmith. Either our actions are preordained by God or our movements are subject to so many external factors we can never untangle them. He glances slyly toward the barber, who is sitting stone-faced in the corner. Of course, whether our will is free or not, most of us fall into patterns of behaviour. Motives become motifs. We seek to relive the journeys and discoveries of our youth. We ask him what he learned from the mirror. He pauses. I learned about panthers and exiles and brass doors. I learned about the tangled coils of absent kings and the knights who drown themselves in royal blood. I wanted to become a scholar of dreams, but ultimately my knowledge proved useless, because dreams are just dreams, and I am shackled to what is, not what is not. Trade secrets for a secret? You tell the locksmith that you know something he doesn't. His eyes glint with interest. The locksmith hesitates, but you drop a tantalizing snippet that catches him off guard. Leaning forward intently, he agrees to your trade on the condition that the barber leaves the room. Once the barber has retreated, grumbling, to his back office, the locksmith explains his theory. The kings behind mirrors would never have willingly released him with his mind unchained, he says. Another power must have intervened. He pauses. I don't know who exactly that power might be. That's what I came here to investigate. I think this is the time where I am going to cut away his memories, because that's what I said I was going to do, so let's try it. He's too absorbed in explaining his theories to notice you removing the razor from its case. As he tells you his suspicions about the barber, you smoothly slice his memories away. He stops, suddenly confused. As you cut with the razor, you stare into the mirror. In the reflection, something is coiling like smoke around the locksmith's head. It flinches away from the Nepthian razor, every fresh cut you inflict making it writhe away in a frantic spasm. You cut and you cut. The golden blood stains the other side of the mirror glass. You find yourself unable to avert your gaze from the contorted, tormented thing in the mirror. I am fascinated, let's stare. You stare, the razor dropping from your suddenly limp fingers. For just a moment, a pair of blazing, furious eyes gleam back. Then the sinuous thing coils into itself and vanishes. You rub your eyes. A fine layer of dust has settled behind your eyelids. How long have you been staring into the glass? Looking around you, the shop is empty. Everyone has gone home. Only a note remains from the barber. It congratulates you on a job well done and encourages you to return tomorrow. When you leave, blood still drips on the other side of the mirror. So we can either go to the Glass Man, I believe these are called, the Heretic of Hollow Street, a meeting at the carnival. You gaze into the handheld mirror and request a meeting. Or we can continue with the barber. A gosset and flog, you find the barber packing his bags, the sodden rodent sitting on his shoulder. There's something about the barber that I like, and I think I want to see it through with him. I don't want to turn him in to the authorities. At Gosset and Flog you find the barber packing his bags, the sodden rodent sitting on his shoulder. The sweepers are nowhere to be seen. The chemist is sitting on a chair, arms folded, examining himself in the mirror. The locksmith has laid a map over the floor, and is on his knees with ruler and pencil, drawing a route from A to B. We are preparing to return to the temple where I lost my fingers, says the barber. I'd be honoured if you could join us. The rodent gives you a small salute. Pray tell, would you be here? Why are we doing this again? I'm guessing we would have all three. We'd have the surgeon as well if we'd passed the surgeon's check. But let's ask the celebrated chemist why he's here. He shakes your hand as you approach. Capital haircut you gave me the other day? My old friend has finally returned, says the chemist, gesturing to the barber with a smile. I never expected to see him again. Of course, I couldn't say no to a second expedition to the Forgotten Quarter, even if the first one proved dull as ditch water in the end. Will you be coming? Okay, what about the locksmith? He looks up from the map, stroking his beard thoughtfully. It appears to be a map of the Forgotten Quarter, woefully incomplete. I'm here for the same reason you are, says the locksmith with infuriating self-satisfaction. A series of inexplicable events eventually led to my birth. But if you mean here, in this barbershop, it is because an old friend has returned from the dead, and I owe him a debt. He returns to studying the map. So let's ask the barber. Last time he made this journey, he was trapped for years and escaped only after losing his fingers, and arguably his mind. This was always the plan. The barber lowers his voice. I came back to gather up my old friends, as my sovereign commanded. They must be willing, or she cannot accept them. But I knew they would never agree if they remembered everything. Thus, the razor was the tool for the job. He glances at his two friends. One is missing, of course, but I never dared hope we'd succeed in getting them all to return with me. Who does he serve? She rules in dreams, behind glass, says the barber dreamingly. The snakes think they are her guards. Sometimes she is their prisoner, sometimes their queen. When I was sacrificed, the serpents tried to claim me. The barber smiles as though the memory is a happy one. I begged for mercy. I pledged myself to whoever or whatever could find me, save me. Only she answered. Since then I have served she who sees my maiming as a sign I am whole in her image. Well, let's embark on a second expedition. The barber leads you to the Forgotten Quarter, following old paths through abandoned streets and down alleys that twist in impossible knots. Eventually, cobblestones are replaced by uneven flagstones. You walk through the silent ruins as though in a dream. Fog curls at your feet. Shattered statues loom accusingly from the dark and recede. You walk alongside the barber, the rodent skittering ahead and picking through the rubble for souvenirs. The chemist sticks closely to the barber's side, chatting merrily to him about the japes they used to pull at Benthic. The locksmith strides ahead, occasionally pausing to consult his map or make note of a particularly interesting ruin. The quarter is an endless, grandipous sprawl. You set up camp wherever is convenient. Toppled columns, sliding rubble dunes. You simmer grim stews over sputtering campfire. You fend off the occasional flock of bats. When you draw near your destination, the barber cannot contain his excitement. You clear some rubble to reveal a stone slab beneath which is a yawning pit. The barber knots a rope at the rim. Clambering down one by one, you find yourself in a subterranean temple. The ceiling is covered in sinuous etchings. At the center stands a mirrored altar, black and gleaming. A few relics of the barber's previous expedition are still in evidence. Studded tent poles, discarded crockery, and upon the altar, a long-dried bloodstain. "Follow," says the barber. He presses his maimed hands against the mirror glass, and you see his fingers extend on the other side. He parts the glass like a heavy curtain. The heretical barber runs his scarred knuckles over the glass, and then pitches forward into the mirror. One by one, his companions follow. A jagged forest, red trees thrusting from volcanic soil. Overhead, a fissured sun leaks unrelenting light into a dull, joyless sky. You follow the barber down a path of scattered finger bones that crunch like gravel underfoot. Two elderly women await you in a clearing, their robes dark, their white satin gloves stained crimson. At first you don't recognize them. They are the somnambuli sweepers, finally awake. The barber bows. "Dr. Gossett," he says respectively. "Dr. Flog, thank you for preparing our path towards Her Majesty's demise." "The way is clear," says Dr. Flog. "Move quickly. Don't look back." "Don't look back," echoes Dr. Gossett. "Keep yourself together. Banish your fears. The Queen awaits." The little group proceeds down the path, leaving two hurdle sweepers behind them. When you turn back, they are gone. You walk. The air burns heavy with a colour that pricks at the mind. The landscape shifts, Carmelian-like. Thin, red streaks scrape unpleasantly across the sky. The barber forges ahead, chatting happily to the rodent on his shoulder. The chemist strides beside him, his eyes flashing like the sky above. The locksmith is at his side, staring around the molten landscape with fascination. You may be able to persuade one of the barber's companions to turn back, but you'll only have time to speak to one before your destination. Persuade the celebrated chemist to turn back. You've seen enough to know that nothing good awaits him in the Palace of the Queen. Persuade the philosophical locksmith to turn back. He looks positively gleeful, his face ruddy in the glow of the roiling sun. You need to bring him to his senses. Or we could encourage the barber's companions to keep going. Put a smile on your face, pretend you know where you're going and how long it'll be before you get there. I think we're going to take them with us. Colour me intrigued. Normally I am the good guy in these decisions, but I don't know, I feel these people had something to do with the demise of the barber in some way or another, even if he is twisted. The chemist groans, but when you remind him of his debt to the barber, he resumes his stride. The locksmith begins walking, his step perhaps a little brisker than before. The barber is striding ahead, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He seems to have forgotten his companions entirely. Keep yourself together, banish your fears. The Queen awaits. As you press deeper into dream, the storm clears. Far above, at the tip of the mountain, perches a castle of stalagmite towers and gnawed bone. Even here, miles and miles below, you can hear her pacing footsteps echoing from the labyrinth of hallways within. "She awaits my arrival," says the barber. He turns to you, extending a hand. His fingers are whole and wet with blood. You do not have her permission to be here. If you get closer, she will take your life from you in an instant, and she will not return it. Please, give me back my tools. I don't want to disappoint her. A pair of mirrored blades capable of cleaving bone, hair and memory at once. They are of this place, not the world outside. Or we can shatter the razor and snap the scissors. Even here, they are only glass. He does not deserve their power. I think we will give them back. The barber snatches his blades from your hands. As his hands brush yours, leaving a red stain, you realize that he's not really looking back at you. Whatever looks out from those frayed eyes is fixed on his queen. So close. There are rules. My lady makes them, and she must abide by them, says the barber quietly. I genuinely bear no ill will toward the men who sacrifice me, but she could not remain as she is if they were to go unpunished. 2 should be enough. She will take them into her service and make them into something new. The barber turns and walks up the winding path to the castle. The chemist follows, trudging, his face bearing the solemn grimace of a man who knows he is condemned. The locksmith follows closely behind, his face utterly blank. Some animating spark has vanished from him. The looming castle crowds at both corners of your sight, giving you an awful migraine. When you close your eyes, you feel your own hands dripped with blood. Opening them, they are untouched, but you feel the stickiness still, the crack of skin as gore dries upon its surface. Best perhaps to leave. Return to the waking world. A long trek awaits, and the path that was carved by the sweepers has already vanished, leaving you surrounded by bristling, inhospitable jungle. You walk for days, minutes, months. Though befuddled and impossible wind, you do not thirst, you do not hunger, but your souls ache and bleed. A sharp pain causes you to look down, your ankle gushing with blood. A slither of mirror discarded in the long orange glass. The air is cold. How you miss the cold, the damp, the dark. You have returned to the Forgotten Quarter, and you slither down a bank of rubble. At least now you know the way home. As you walk back to London, you reach into your pocket and realise that you are still carrying the innocuous comb. Did the barber want you to give that back to him too? In any case, it is too late. You've acquired nothing of particular import. I love this comb. Oh, and here is the epilogue. Gossett and Flogs is shuttered and silent. A few pamphlets scatter the gutters. A note is pinned to the door. In the distance you can hear the entrepreneurial urchin's shrill voice. She's advertising some other establishment, of course. 2 bits, she shouts. 3 pies and 2 bits. Heard it here first. So we can read a note from the bone-weary Zayla. It's written in an expansive scrawl. Dear Mr. Gossett and or Flog, writes the Zayla, I wanted to write to thank you for your help. I can sleep now without making old Bill upstairs bang his cane on the floor, or as to stop all the screaming and weeping and etc. I am sorry to see you have closed. I was ready to recommend your service to other Zaylas like myself who came back suffering from the aforementioned horribleness. You have made a difference to this old soul, and thank you once more. Turning the note over, you realise it's written on a torn fragment of map. Now we will visit the empty barber shop. You happen to know that the back window doesn't lock properly. Your footsteps echo. The barber's back office is still heaped with his paperwork, already gathering dust. Cobwebs accrue on the chairs. there's no clue that this was anything but an ordinary barber shop, other than the fact it remains empty, despite being on Hollow Street. The honey addicts keep their distance. You suspect no one will be taking up the premise anytime soon. You have finished the exceptional story. Well, wasn't that wonderful? A quick trip into the Parabolum? Is that the right word? I can't remember. It's supposed to be the Finger Kings anyway. There was a little bit more of that. It's not the first time I've been there. I've done another exceptional story in the exact same place. But either way, I will be doing the next exceptional story, Say It With Flowers, soon. I may do it quicker so I can keep in time with not having to finish outside of the month that the thing came out in. But either way, thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Your comments are greatly appreciated. And as always, I'll see you next time.